thank you, all of you, for attending this conversation with IETA and ICAP event. So without further ado, we will start our call today. And we would like to reiterate our sincere gratitude for all of you for attending this meeting. But just a few notes before starting this event. We know that the postponement of the COP26 in Glasgow into November 21, following the global impact of the COVID-19 crisis, risk delaying climate negotiation, but may also affect the momentum for carbon pricing observed across jurisdictions in recent years. Against this backdrop, ICAP and IETA see the need for an alternative format to engage relevant stakeholders of the international community in discussion and exchange centered around carbon market and priorities for carbon pricing in the year ahead. In this light, the West African and Eastern African Alliance on Carbon Market and Climate Finance joins its effort to contribute to this carbon market virtual pavilion by organizing an open and direct discussion format called In Conversation With, to share first the experiences, some key achievements and challenges faced, but also to shed light on the perspective of the two alliances to improving the current Article 6 negotiation, but in particular, the enhancement of the preparedness of the African country for the Article 6 implementation. But before opening the floor, I would like just to introduce our distinguished speaker. First, Bianca is a coordinator of the Eastern African Alliance on Carbon Market and Climate Finance. She is also responsible for coordination and management of the Alliance activities, focusing more on enhancing capacity on carbon market activities, but also coordinating negotiation preparation and regional collaboration. Prior to this, she provided technical support to the Kenyan delegation on negotiation matters, but also reporting with experiences in monitoring, reporting, and verification of clean development mechanism energy project. Usman Falsar also is, since in 2017, he is a coordinator of the West African Alliance on Carbon Market, but also he is the director in charge of planning and studies of the Senegalese Rural Electrification Agency, AZER, an autonomous entity of the Senegalese Ministry in charge of energy. He has been involved in the international negotiation on climate change under the UNFCCC since 2005. But since 2013, as a chair of the Senegalese committee, he coordinated in partnership with the Ministry of Environment the elaboration of the Senegalese national determined contribution. But also he is coordinating the piloting of new mechanism called Standardized Crediting Framework initiated by the World Bank Sea Development Program. So without further ado, I would like now to give the floor first to Bianca to share his experience, but also to shed light on the perspective of the Alliance. But just a few notes in terms of logistics. Please keep sending your question throughout the Q&A features. So after the two presentation of our two speakers, we can open up the floor for discussion and answer. So thank you again for joining us. Please, Bianca, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Samba, for the wonderful introduction. I'm pleased to be here today to share the experiences of the Eastern African Alliance on carbon markets and climate finance. And I think briefly to start off, I'll just elaborate how the Alliance has been in existence for about 1.5 years and how it's been carrying on since it was launched. And its members comprise of countries within Eastern Africa of Ethiopia, Rwanda, Burundi, Uganda, Tanzania, Kenya, and Sudan. And basically the achievements and of what's been happening so far, I'd say can be categorized internally and also externally. So internally would be on how the members have been coming together, and through the Alliance national focal points that they put forward together, we've been able to put in place a framework document that was endorsed by all the members. And what it does, it really gives a good grounding for operations of the Alliance moving forward, so that we're organized. And this was all done even through this COVID experience online, which I'd have to say was quite an achievement, because the members are used to meeting physically, but this was the first ever annual members meeting, and it was all done online with a lot of participation and endorsement of the framework document and the work plan and a communication strategy. So the way the Alliance works is the members provide the needs or the areas in they require support for carbon market activity, preparation for implementation of Article 6. And then this is what comprises the work plan and activities for the year. So that has enabled us to be a bit organized and to really have the members stepping up. They've elected their own chair, and they've been really following up on the activities that have been put forward. And one of the other things that has happened is we've launched the website. So all the information of the news and activities that's happening is kept up to date there. It's also a knowledge platform. You can find presentations and discussions. You can find presentations and knowledge products that can definitely shed light on what's been going on in terms of Article 6 or the possible transition. So everything in relation to market activities for government or private sector stakeholders can be found on there as well. So, and further to that, we've also received new membership this year. That was Sudan that I mentioned earlier, which shows that the countries in the region are really taking this seriously and very keen to contribute to the Alliance and also to benefit from the activities. But then moving on very specifically to actually what's being done to the benefit of the region, we recently had a private sector series online, which really brought together the existing and potential new private sector project developers and brought them up to date on what's happening in terms of carbon markets, the status with negotiations, its relation with NDC, what's been happening with the voluntary markets, and what's been happening with piloting and where the opportunities lie in for them. And we saw that there was a lot of interest. The participants were really excited to be kept up to date. So we're really looking forward to always knowing what's happening. And because of that, we've decided to make it a biannual event. It was ideally it was planned for once a year, but there's a lot of interest. And we found that a lot of the participants were not only from the region, but also from outside. So we do want to open it up to everybody. And we do want the Alliance to be the place where private sector stakeholders can receive a lot of this information. So it is already proving that there's a lot of demand in the area for this. And then, as Samba had mentioned, we do work on ensuring well-coordinated participation in the negotiations for the African countries. So just next week, we'll be having our negotiators workshop training with the negotiators, both senior and junior. And one area we're very excited about is we've been working on a handbook that is supposed to help the negotiators, give them a lot of background information on what is necessary, on what's been happening, explaining terminologies, and it's really, we're finalizing on it, so we're just waiting for the last comment, and the negotiators will be able to use it right before and during the session, so we can perfect it. So we're really excited about that because that's a practical tool that they can use now, and we see it as something being updated, of course, once the rules do come into play. So it's something that will be live. It will keep being updated each year as there's always new improvements and developments. And then, of course, we've also been having we're having an institutional assessment study for each of the countries because they all have different circumstances. And this work, the interviews have been had and will be finalizing in November. So at least in terms of really keeping up to date on what's happening, we're making sure that the countries are at the forefront and that their priorities are being taken into consideration. We have been working with the West African Alliance is on board, so I won't go much detail, but we've been working on 2 events. So we worked on Article 6 consultations, whereby we had the negotiators going into the details of the negotiations with the experts, as well as the lead coordinator for the AFTA group of negotiators. And then we also had an equal round brought together pilot activities that have been actually ongoing, the likes of the Foundation, World Bank, BCM, the Swedish Energy Agency. Everyone was brought together and they could interact and ask questions on what makes these on the practical issues of making this a success. So really, it was the first of its kind, and it really showed also that there's a lot of interest and people are at different stages. So it's trying to understand where they can plug in or what they need to do to catch up to different types of programs. So I won't go too much into that because Usman can also mention a bit about it.
Yes.
But regional collaboration is definitely a big one for us. I will say, in terms of perspectives and challenges, because somebody did ask me to mention about that. I'd say that in terms of some of the needs that we get from the member countries, sometimes they're not as clear. So we're working to always try and make sure that if when there's a request for something that it's a bit more it's clarified very clearly, because we don't want we don't want to be the ones who are making the needs. These needs have to come from the members. For the sustainability of the alliance, there needs to be serious ownership in the activities that the country asks for. They should be able to really want to improve. So we're really working to always refine that in terms of that. And then obviously now that everything is online, participation of events has become a bit more difficult. So we're always trying to improve and make our sessions a bit more interactive, to make them feel like it's a space for them to speak and contribute during sessions. But I do see these as things we can definitely improve on. And
Thank you.
yeah, but thank you so much. Yeah, I'll just
Thank you, Bianca.
yeah.
So thank you very much, Bianca, for your very relevant point that you have shared with us, and for experience that you have from the Eastern perspective, but also shedding light on some key challenges that need to be faced to improve the implementation of your activity. So may I ask Usman to start sharing also from his perspective about the experiences, but also in African Alliance. Usman, you have the floor. Usman?
Hello, good morning. Good
Yeah.
afternoon, Samba. Do you hear me?
Yeah. Yeah, we hear you very well.
Yes, Samba, do you hear me? Usman is speaking.
We hear you very well.
Thank you for inviting me to this interview, and I'm very happy to share with you. Yeah, thanks for inviting me, and I'm very happy to share with you the experience that we've had with the West African Alliance on Carbon Markets and Climate Finance. Our alliance have been created in 2017 with the aim to facilitate the participation of our countries in carbon markets and climate finance for the implementation of their NDCs, and to build our capacities and to support our region in the CDM transitioning and in the development of carbon pricing instruments, and also to facilitate our integration in the sub-region when it comes to implement market mechanisms. So far we have been really very active in the sub-region. We've managed to have all the West African countries on board. They all affiliated to the West African Alliance on Carbon Markets and Climate Finance. We have 16 countries affiliated to this alliance. Hopefully, it was a big challenge, but we managed to have it. And after the affiliation of all the West African countries, we've got funding from German BMU to implement our first action plan. And during this first action plan, we have got a lot of main achievement. And I think that before talking about this achievement, I just wanted to stress on the key principles that have guided our activities. The first principle is the capacity building issue. We need to have negotiators, we need to have experts in the sub-region well capacited to talk about carbon markets, carbon pricing, and climate finance. The second principle is communication. After being well capacited, we need to communicate appropriately about these instruments and mechanism. And the third principle is consultation. We need to have a framework for interactive consultation between key stakeholders. And the third principle is the partnership. And the fourth principle is the cooperation between countries. And regarding these principles, we've managed to implement some capacity building activities in terms of preparation of our negotiators to be very dynamic in the UNFCCC negotiation process. And as you all may see, during the last event, the COP, the SBs, you've seen a very strong presence of West African countries, and hopefully we have the chance to have the AGN led by a West African expert who is a technical partner of the West African Alliance. After this capacity building, we try to support few West African countries in their readiness process to Article 6 implementation. Because of budget constraints, we selected Nigeria and Togo, and these two countries, with these two countries, we have the opportunity to assist them in terms of institutional arrangement to put in place to be ready for Article 6 implementation, in terms of MRV system to put in place, and in terms of CDM transitioning for Article 6 of Paris Agreement. In terms of partnership also, we have started partnering with the main regional organization. The alliance is hosted by the West African Development Bank, a regional bank, and the secretariat is hosted by Enda Energy, that is a sub-regional NGO very active in climate change. And at a political level, we managed to have a partnership with ECOWAS, who is the main sub-region organization, and also we had a partnership with the West African Economic and Monetary Union, the WAEMU. With these two institutions, we are working on carbon pricing with WAEMU and the UNFCCC Secretariat within the SIACA initiative, and we are working very closely with the Regional Collaborative Center in Lomé in these activities. With the ECOWAS, we are very engaged in a need-based finance process to see on the basis of need identification how best we can elaborate a regional strategy to mobilize climate financing for our sub-region. And this is a very important project that we are now currently implementing with the ECOWAS. At a global level, we have a strong partnership with UNFCCC Secretariat. We have developed partnership with the World Bank, with the CPLC, and we have also some governments like Canadian government, like the Swiss government, with whom we are in close collaboration when it comes to to build our capacity to consult on the negotiations. And recently, we have developed a strong partnership with the East African Alliance, and we managed to organize this donor roundtable for in-mode transaction. It was a first of its kind event where we had around the table donors from developed countries and sellers from developing countries. It was a very interesting consultation process that led to a better understanding of how ITMO's transaction can be done in the future. So it was really relevant at a regional level, at a global level, and was also in the same dynamic of the principle of Article 6, that is about cooperation between parties to scale up ambition for the Paris Agreement. So, in a nutshell, these are the main achievements that we can talk about for the West African Alliance. But we have the opportunity to get funding from recently a funding from ICI initiative from Germany to implement our second phase of our action plan from 2020 to 2024. And in this second phase, we will put the focus on the negotiations. We will put the focus also on the implementation of concrete actions on the ground by mobilizing financing for our respective countries. And we put the focus also on the regional collaboration and the development of partnership and outreaching for our activities. So, to summarize, these are the main activities that we have implemented so far with the West African Alliance on carbon markets and climate finance. We have some challenges relative to
So we have only 1 minute left. Please go ahead for just one challenge or two. Yes, please. Yeah, Usman. Hello, Usman. So maybe Usman, I can make just a quick summary of the two communications that have been.
I stopped.
Yeah, please.
Okay, I'll just take a minute. I think I'd just like to add that we've also joined CPLC in terms of partnerships, and that we do collaborate, of course, with the East Africa community as well, especially on negotiation issues. They are a member of our steering committee, and the alliance currently is hosted by Kampala, so we are based in the East Africa Development. We have been working closely with other organizations for activities. We held a carbon market screening supporting TIZ and Delphi on that, and we are currently working also with the World Bank on a course for carbon taxation. So that's all I'll say on this for now. Thank you.
Okay. So thank you, Bianca. Thank you also, Usman, for shedding light on the achievement and some key challenges. What I have noticed that I don't know if from IETA, do you have any questions that have been raised so far from the participant? Before wrapping up?
No questions.
Yeah, please. Okay, so I would like just to come back to some key achievements that have been highlighted by Bianca and Usman. Is about the negotiation process. I think that both alliances have been able to set up a very appropriate framework where African negotiators have the capacity to learn, but also to discuss about the crunch issues that are still pending on the negotiation process. But also, both alliances also have been very active in terms of partnership development, and it helped a lot for sustaining our momentum, but also helping to dig deeper and have additional support. And I think that it's a very good achievement. But also the third one is in terms of initiating some innovative way to engage private actors, but also help countries to be more prepared in terms of Article 6 implementation. And last but not least is the fact that the Alliance also have been able to secure or to identify additional resources that help them now to start initiating some concrete action on the ground level. And I think that it is worth mentioning that. And in terms of challenges, what I have noticed is we have to improve the appropriateness at the country level, so that it's not only the national focal point, but also all the stakeholders that are of interest for the Article 6 will be involved in the process. And the second one is still about the resources. If we need to pilot activities, we still need some additional resources to help initiate some at the ground level some activities. I think that these are some key notes that I have taken notice from the two communication. And maybe if Bianca or Usman want to add something, so please, before we are closing this event, Bianca and Usman, I can give you the floor for 1 minute to just to wrap up before closing the event.
Thank you,
Bianca?
Samba. Yes, I'm on. Thank you. Yeah, I think you did a really good summary. It's definitely true that there are multiple stakeholders at hand here, so we need to find a way of making sure that everyone is captured in this whole process. It needs to, whether it's private sector or government, all the players have to be up to speed. So I will say that yes, we are at the point where now we've done a lot of capacity building, and for some of the bigger activities to implement, we definitely need additional resources, and we're definitely working towards that. But definitely we have to also take scope of how we've gotten to where we are today, and to be happy of that. But definitely it's a continuous process. So I think you've wrapped it up quite well. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Bianca. Usman? So Osman, I think that he left, but I think that thank you all of you for attending this this interview. It was very wonderful to hear from you guys, and also we seize this opportunity to thank also again the organizer and IETA and ICAP, and also the BMU for the funding of these two alliance. But also we thank very much the participants who have been able to join this short communication. It went very well. We thank you very much, and we are looking forward to touch again with you with some additional events in the coming days. So thank you all of you. Thank you again for. So without further ado, we can now close this event. Thank you.
Thank you, Samba. Thank you.
Thank you, Bianca. Thank you.
Yeah.